Hello, everybody. Today I'm going to be talking about fall leaves. So, yes, it is in fact fall, and there's some beautiful trees outside, and the most beautiful part of them is the leaves. Um, you might see them on the ground, or blown away in the wind, or still attached. But I like seeing the different types of leaves that there are out there. There's so many different types and colors. So we'll draw a few here and kind of learn the differences. First, I want to start with a simpler shaped one called an ash tree. An ash tree. So when an ash tree's leaves change, they tend to be kind of an orangey yellow. So that's the color I'm going to select here. And I'm going to do it a kind of an interesting way here where I color a splotch, and maybe it looks a little bit too yellow. I'm going to do a little bit more orange, brownish, and kind of mix that in. So you could do this on a piece of paper by coloring a piece of paper. And then what I'm going to do is use my select tool. What you might want to do is use scissors now, and cut out this shape. So an ash tree has a sort of, I don't know, eye shape leaf like this. All right. And I'm going to do this, copy and paste. Get rid of that. There we go. Now I have myself a leaf that looks like an ash. So an ash leaf also has little spikes on it. And the spikes are mostly towards the top. So I'm going to go something like that. And just get rid of those. And there we go. And then maybe you would want some stems. So I'm going to choose the same kind of color but darker version, darker orange-brown color. And I'm going to go ahead and do a small brush here and just draw maybe not that small. Draw a stem going all the way up, sort of like that, and then little veins going up this way, and then down this, and then down this way. There, that looks good. So I'll give it a title. Ash. So here's my ash leaf. Let's move on to another type of leaf. So the next leaf I want to do is one of my favorites called the maple. And I'm going to do a red maple since we just did an orange tree. So I'm going to go ahead and you could do this on another piece of paper now or on the remaining piece of the paper that you cut. And just color some red. This is a little bit bright for maple. Usually it's got like kind of a darker burnt red color. I'm going to go ahead and layer several different colors of red on here. A little bit more gray. Maybe a deeper red as well. Just kind of get a nice mix of colors. Now for the shape of a maple tree. So a maple has a nice complex shape, but I'm going to simplify it. So basically we've got one area down here on both sides, and then you got one area going up to the top and two on the side. So it's kind of like a five-sided star. And I'm going to add a little stem as well. So let's go ahead and see how that looks when I move that out of here. Perfect. So I'm going to make that a little smaller. And then get rid of all this extra color here. Bloop, bloop, bloop. All right, that's looking close, but maples have this really cool sort of, once you cut out this, you can cut out even further and make this even more mapley. So if you cut little chunks out like this. Oops, how do I do that? So I'll just cut a little chunk out like that. And we want to cut a chunk out like this. So yeah, this is a little different than my other art videos in that it's almost like paper craft, like you're using scissors today instead of maybe a pencil the whole time. Here we go. Let's try this. This is probably a better shape. So there we go. And then we'll go get that. There we go. That's more like a maple. So it's sort of a W. 1, 2. We got 1, 2. Let's see if that worked. Yep. Okay, cut another W out of each one. 1, 2. Oops. So we want to keep accidentally undoing. And whoosh, whoosh. There we go. And let's cut a little bit out of this bottom one here. A little W shape. And the last one. Oops. 1, 2. There. So I've kept that kind of star shape going on, but they're just more complex now. I could cut out a little bit more in here just to, and it's kind of got that crinkly look too. Okay, now let's do the stem just like we did the other one. I'm gonna go back to a brownish color, maybe actually a little bit more gray, and go ahead and draw. Oops, right from the stem all the way up to that top, and then to each of the points, they each get their own vein like that. And I want to be a little bit more specific. The end of the stem sort of has a little bit of width to it. So there's a good maple leaf. A little rough around the edges, that's okay. Maple. Great. All right. Zoom out here. So I've got ash, and I have maple. Move that. Turn it up. Turn it a little bit. All right. Now let's see. How about a ginkgo tree? Ginkgo is pretty easy to do. They have these nice yellow leaves when they turn. So that's what I'm first going to do now is paint a little bit of yellow. Let's do it a little bit. There we go. Maybe a lighter yellow in there. Maybe a little bit darker oranges. Keeping that nice yellow where I can. Okay, now to cut it out, this one has sort of a fan look to it, like this. Ginkgo. Look at that. So let's make that smaller. Erase the excess. All right. I think I may have made the stem a little bit too thin. It's kind of nice that it's that thin, but a little bit thicker. And stems tend to have a little bit of a nub at the end where it's attached. This one doesn't have quite as strong of veins going through it, but you can kind of make little pattern if you want on it. Just color a little bit of brown sort of coming down. But I think in general that's probably a good representation right there of the ginkgo. So I'm going to go ahead and write ginkgo on that. Ginkgo. Beautiful trees. All right, moving on. Feel free to pause if I'm going too fast, which I'm sure cutting with scissors will take a lot longer than cutting how I am here. So yeah, definitely pause to make your way through this video. Let's talk about let's do an oak tree. There's many oaks here in Chico. So an oak tree, what color does its leaves turn? It's like a little bit of a brown, a orangish brown. So I'm gonna go ahead and draw some orangish brown. Maybe some more grayed out areas, maybe some more darker areas. Leaves have a nice variation in their texture. They're not all one color or darkness. So when I'm doing this style, maybe a little black in there, I want to make sure it has this sort of random look to it. Now I'll take my shape here and I'm going to start out, my cut with making a sort of wide, or rather tall, diamond shape, sort of like this. Okay. So let's see what I want to do. I want to move this over here. And then erase this one. Erase all this stuff. Okay. Now with my maple leaf. Sorry, not maple. I'm on oak. Oak leaf. Now oak has, instead of, the maple had these spikes in it, but the oak has more of rounded edges. So I'm going to go on the top and I'm just going to round out everything. So round, kind of keeping this overall shape consistent, but I want to sort of make these round areas sort of like this. And it's kind of similar, but it doesn't have to be exactly the same on both sides. That's what kind of makes leaves special, is they all have a different look to them. So now that I've got that, now I can erase the excess again, or discard the paper scraps if you're cutting out at home. And then, yes, I'm going to do a darker color again for the stem. And this stem, again, goes maybe a little bit thinner than that. It goes all the way to the top again. And then it has a stem to each of these little segments. Not a stem, a vein. It's probably a more fancy word for that. But then there's like little extra veins off of those little ones. There we go. That looks like a rough oak leaf. So I'm going to move that into my leaf collection here and call it a oak with black again. And O-A-K. Oak. Beautiful. Let's do a couple more. How about a sycamore is very, very similar looking to the maple, but a little bit more colors. Let's do a chestnut tree. Chestnuts have 5 very distinct leaf segments in them, and they're all sorts of colors. So I'm going to start actually with kind of a muted green in the middle, And then I'm gonna go out towards yellow. So I'm actually gonna move. It's interesting. Leaves start here in the green and they sort of move towards yellow, orange, red, and some even make it into purple territory. I don't know too many leaves that get to blue, but there might be some. There might be some that start bluish and move them their way through. But I already put down a green, so now I'm gonna put yellow outside of the green. Some a little bit more move towards the orange. Almost making a rainbow here, huh? More of an orange. And then finally end with like a reddish right around this edge. I don't want to hit my other leaves. So I've got sort of a green moving into red rainbow happening there, huh? Cool. Now, time for the cut. So this one's really fun. So let's start with a stem. I'm going to put the stem right here. Actually, I'm going to put the stem going off to the side just because of how it's shaped. And now we've got 5 different leaf segments. So I've got 1, 2, and one big one on top, 3, 4, and each leaf segment is kind of a eye shape. All right, and then I'm gonna go ahead and copy and paste that. And then I'm gonna go back to here and erase, and we should see it up here. There we go. So I've cut out this sort of star shape. Let's rotate it. Yeah. And now, just like the ash tree, I'm gonna go ahead and make some spikes on the edges of these leaves, because they're not perfectly rounded like that. They actually have a jagged, kind of a toothed edge. So the way I'm doing that is just cutting out little triangles. If you were using scissors, it'd be little triangles. Right now I'm just using a zigzag to essentially do that same thing. Let's just move it out of the way here. There. I can erase this excess. There we go. Combine those together. And again, let's see. That is a chestnut. Chestnut. Cool. All right, what else we got? How about a birch? So I'm going to do a little bit of a greener leaf now with the birch. So I'm going to choose sort of a lighter green for the base. That's a little too gray. And then get darker as I go up. Some leaves, when they fall, they don't quite make it to yellow or orange. They stay green. Some trees called evergreens don't lose their leaves. Don't turn at all. And then I'm going to do a little browner area for the stem, which is going to be down here. So now I have this shape. It actually looks like a tree itself, but not once I cut it out. This birch has a nice, similar to the ash, but a little bit wider shape to it. So I'll copy and paste. And here I'm going to erase. Oops. Erase there. There we go. And just like the other one, we're gonna jagged the edges a little bit, especially along the top. Doesn't really need it towards the bottom. It sort of stops being jagged there. And pull that out. There we go. And call that what it is. Oops. Birch. Yeah. That's a pretty nice little leaf collection, don't you think? Birch, ash, ginkgo, maple, oak. How about one more? Let's do a different kind of oak. I sort of did a more, I think it's a white oak with this, the brown leaf. I want a more fiery common oak. So that's more, it tends to be yellow and orange more than that brown. And it's a different shaped leaf, which is why I'm going to do it. Let's see. So let's go big. Actually, you know what? Change of plans. I'm going to do a gum tree because that's a nice color too. It's almost the furthest to the right. So we've has a green birch, we've got the yellow ash and ginkgo, the oak, which is an orangish brown, and then we've got maple. And if we go a little bit further, almost borderline to magenta, we get this nice pink color, which is a gum tree. We'll go a little bit darker here on the edges, and maybe a little bit paler for the center. See how kind of rough my coloring is there, and that's good. It's nice to have no real pattern when you're doing that. Okay, so I've got my stem, and then this one also has 5 sections, but they're nice and kind of pointy, not jagged sections like that. Simple leaf, really. And oops, I want to move that off of here and erase that. And let's select that again. Move it over here. There we go. And just to get the stems in there, we're going to do those in a lighter white. And draw that. Oops. Keep forgetting to change my brush size. A little bit smaller. And then it goes up to each little thing like that. And then just like the oak, we've got little smaller veins coming off of that. Like this. Almost like a miniature tree in itself, huh? I do like that about leaves, is they almost mirror where they come from. And what type of tree is this? A sweet gum tree. I'll just call it G-U-M. Gum. Now I realized on the chestnut I forgot to do one of the coolest parts of it, which is the stem, which tends to be a nice red stem. So I'm going to try to hide it right behind the letters, which is a little tough. But just a nice red stem on that chestnut. Also with long spikes coming off of it. Of course, all leaves are going to look different. All trees are going to look different. I encourage you to maybe go out and find a leaf and then sort of try to copy it yourself. See the patterns. Cut out a piece of paper after painting it the same color as your leaf. I'm doing the stems of the birch too. I kind of neglected before. Yeah, it's a fun thing to do, to study leaves, because they're all so different and so special. Let's see. we go. So there we go. There's our 7 leaves. The ash, the maple, the ginkgo, the oak, the birch, chestnut, and gum. Hope you learned a little bit about leaves today and about trees. And I hope that inspires you to go out and collect some. So, all right. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.